Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, in the series of the best, we'll be speaking about one of the best of the best. A person with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stood over his grave and he recited the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that min al-mu'mineen rijalun sadaqu ma ahadallaha alayh. That from men are people that have been true to the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From amongst them are those, because of this covenant, they've lost their life. From amongst them are those who are waiting to sacrifice themselves for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they've not changed in the least. This companion we're going to speak about today, with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, considered to be amongst these men who have been true to the covenant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that lost their lives for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was a companion that was called Mus'ab ibn Umair. This companion, Mus'ab ibn Umair, in his youth, prior to accepting al-Islam, was like, subhanallah, the superstar of the Quraysh. Think of any football star you could think of today, any film star, any pop star, rap star, soul singer that people idolized and they looked up to. Mus'ab was this person, because Mus'ab was like the fashion icon of the Quraysh. He wore the best of clothes, the best of shoes. Mus'ab's perfume could be smelled from a distance. Not only could be smelled from a distance, and it was of high quality. Mus'ab, may Allah be pleased with him, he had perfumes that was unique to him. Every young man amongst the Quraysh, they wanted to befriend him and be like him. There's not a young girl or young woman except she wanted to be married by Mus'ab ibn Umair. It was like the vogue of his time. He's like the kind of person that people say he is it. Oh, however, things changed suddenly for Mus'ab when he accepted al-Islam. Because his parents that used to pamper him and spoil him, that used to say to the extent, if he wanted something and it's on the moon and we could go to the moon to go and get it, we'll do so for you, ya Mus'ab. When they found out that Mus'ab had accepted Islam, his mother that pampered him, spent so much money on him and gave him all the luxuries of the life of this world, she cut him off from everything. She imprisoned him in the house. She cut him to the luxury of food, drink, all the good clothes, and she imprisoned him. But she did not know that, subhanallah, that faith had taken a strong root in the heart of Mus'ab, and the life of this world did not mean anything to him anymore. So the first opportunity, Mus'ab, he ran away and he escaped and emigrated to the Muslims to Ethiopia. When he emigrated to the Muslims to Ethiopia, he came back again after a false rumor that the people of Mecca had accepted Islam. His mother at this point, she got him again, kidnapped him, imprisoned him, took away all his luxuries, thinking that would cause him to leave Islam, but he never left Islam. The first opportunity again, Mus'ab, he escaped. Even though his mother promised him, if you leave Islam, I'll give you all of this luxury. He escaped and forgot about all his luxuries, because the heart of Mus'ab was now preoccupied with Iman, with faith, learning the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the extent that Mus'ab, in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he memorized every single thing that was revealed at his time. Mus'ab ibn Umair was given the nickname because of the love of the Quran and his memorization and his recitation. They gave him the nickname Al-Muqri, the reciter. There was nobody that had memorized more from the book of Allah than Mus'ab, other than Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So obviously the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when people came and they wanted somebody to go and teach them Islam, when the people of Ansar, the Medina came and they gave the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for somebody to teach them Islam, the obvious choice was Mus'ab ibn Umair. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, prior to going to Medina, he sent him. So Mus'ab ibn Umair became the first ambassador of Islam. The first emissary that was sent out for da'wah was Mus'ab ibn Umair. Upon reaching Medina, his propagation and his da'wah was so good and so effective that in the first year, 70 men accepted the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even people that are amongst the enemies of Islam at that time, like Sa'd ibn Mu'adh and Usayd ibn Hudayr, that hated Islam, they accepted Islam at the hands of Mus'ab ibn Umair because of his skills of da'wah. To the point that when these people approach Mus'ab in order to kill him or even abuse him, when Mus'ab finishes with them, the people used to say, Wallahi, we used to see Islam on the face of the people even before Mus'ab finished speaking, because of his way of reciting the book of Allah, his propagation of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Mus'ab ibn Umair was not only a person of knowledge, he was a person, like we said, that abstained from the life of this world, to the extent that once he was approaching the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw him from a distance, and when he saw him, Subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ saw the kind of outfit that Mus'ab was wearing. It was like leather, but leather that was untreated. Rags basically. And this is a person that had the best of clothes. At this point, the Prophet ﷺ said to the companions sitting around him, he said, Unzur, look at a man, nawwara Allahu qalba, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put light in his heart. A man that had all the luxuries of this world, the best clothes, the best perfumes, food and drink. But look what he's wearing today. Look what he's upon today. He said, فَدَعَاهُ حُبُّ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, that the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is what's called him to what he's upon today, to give up the life of this world. Mus'ab ibn Umair, he prepared the groundwork for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to come to Medina, because there was not a house amongst the Ansar, the people of Medina, except Islam entered into their house, subhanallah. So this made it very easy for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to emigrate to Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ, based on the groundwork of Mus'ab ibn Umair, he emigrated to Medina. Whilst in Medina, the great battle between truth and falsehood took place, the battle of Badr. In this battle, Mus'ab, he took part, and he was a brave soldier in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the strangest things that happened in this battle, that while this battle was happening, the Muslims were victorious, and after the battle, they had some prisoners of war. One of these prisoners of war was no other than the blood brother of Mus'ab ibn Umair. So Mus'ab, he saw his own brother being captured by another Muslim and being tied as a prisoner of war. Mus'ab, he passed by his brother. When his brother saw him approaching, he smiled, thinking, I'm saved now. My brother Mus'ab is approaching. Mus'ab, he said to the Muslim who had captured his own brother as a prisoner of war, he said to him, tie him tight and charge a high ransom for him, for his mother is a rich woman. At this point, the brother Mus'ab, he became shocked, and he looked at Mus'ab with a face of disgust and shock, that you do this to your own brother. He said, you do this to your own brother? Mus'ab ibn Umair, he said to him at this point, you are not my brother. This is my brother, and he pointed to the Muslim. Subhanallah. After this battle came the great battle of Al-Uhud. And this battle, subhanallah, in it are many lessons, in it are many, subhanallah, bravery that we see, and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we're going to see concerning this companion Mus'ab ibn Umair. May Allah be pleased with him. Until the next episode, inshallah ta'ala, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.